Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Trent. This is Rams Talk. Welcome to the Rams Seahawks wildcard playoff round game preview. Now I'm going to kick this thing off with a quote from AD after the victory against Arizona. He was asked, "You're playing Seattle next week. What do you think of that?" He said, "That's what we wanted. That's exactly what we wanted." And I love that. That's AD. That's the captain. No one's going to argue with him. So if that's what he wants, I want that too. Now, welcome to the channel. I noticed that 50% of the people that watch Rams Talk videos are not subscribers. So if you're a Rams fan and you want Rams content, just subscribe, throw a like, throw a comment up there. It really helps the channel. I appreciate it. And I really enjoy growing the Rams community. So also a couple shout outs here. Will Ram Wallace, if you find this guy, I'm gonna have a link to his Instagram channel in my description. He has a lot of really cool Rams merch. He just created it looks like the NASA logo, and it says Rams instead of that. So if you're looking for some different Rams merch, not the official stuff, check out it's the link in the bio on his Instagram page, Ramheart, just in case you want to go look it up right now. Also, you can check out my other socials in the description below. I'm on Instagram, FlickChat, Twitter, all of that good stuff. Also, a couple shout outs to Seattle fans. One who I'm not quite sure why he's a Seattle fan, Chris Jones. Still, you can walk away from that. No one will judge you, okay? Open arms, man. Devin Penhall, I still haven't forgotten the fantasy football championship from 2 years ago when you beat me by 0.14 points. And then also Norb Cam, he's another YouTube creator, but he's a Seattle guy, and we're going to do a collaboration tomorrow, Friday, on his channel, live stream, probably 1:30-ish p.m. Pacific time. So I'll have some more information on that after this video is released. Now, a couple news and notes before we get into this matchup, and I'm going to have full episodes about these different topics. One is the Brandon Staley and Brad Holmes and some other guys on the Rams coaching staff and organization that are getting offers or invitations for interviews from other teams. So as you all know, Brandon Staley, the Jets and the Chargers have extended an invitation for an interview from him. And this is he will be a head coach, but I would caution people thinking that just because there are about 6 vacancies out there that he's gonna lock for one of them. I mean, it takes 2 to tango. He's gonna want to. It's going to be a good fit for him. Also, the fact that the Rams are still playing right now, he can't interview until the Rams season is over. So even more incentive for the Rams to win and go as far as they can in the playoffs, means that other guys like Saleh of 49ers, some college coaches, Dayball from Buffalo, he's still going in, but Bieniemy from Kansas City. So there's a lot of other coaching fits out there that I don't think Brandon Staley's going anywhere this offseason, but that's for another episode. And then also Brad Holmes, the Rams scouting director. The Falcons and the Lions have reached out to him for an interview for the GM position. Now, he's been in the Rams organization for 8 years. He's 41 years old, and he is a key contributor, along with Les Snead, to the roster that you see today, even drafting Todd Gurley a couple of years ago. So Brad Holmes is kind of, one of the unsung heroes of this Rams roster and this Rams team. So I hope he doesn't go anywhere. But congratulations for Staley and Brad Holmes for getting some buzz. Now, another topic, and this will be for another episode as well, are the Rams 2021 opponents. So we will be playing the NFC North, the AFC South, and then the Bucs and the Giants. So NFC East and NFC South, 1-1. So the home games at SoFi next year, and hopefully fans will be allowed in, are Lions, Bears, Bucks, Jags, Titans. So that means we'll see Derrick Henry there, Trevor Lawrence, the Bears again. I think this is the 3rd season in a row the Bears have played in LA, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I'll take it. Tom Brady, if he's with the Bucks next year, and the Lions, cool. And then the away games will be Green Bay, Vikings, Giants, Texans, and Colts. So only one trip to the East Coast. Everything else is Midwest. And aside from the Giants in Green Bay, everything's in a dome. Everything's in a dome. So hopefully we go there in August, to go to those places in August. But that will be a separate episode right there. Injuries. So Taylor Rapp, a lot of people asking about Taylor Rapp. He's still on IR. He hasn't come off IR. So he's not playing this week. In fact, with everyone COVID and IR and coming off and going on, it's a game of chess. So they're rotating a lot of guys on there. They're not going to keep someone, even if Taylor Rapp could be practicing right now, but he wouldn't play, they keep him on IR and just let it roll. So then Kaiser's back. He's limited. Whitworth is limited, but Whitworth is checking the boxes, and it looks as though he'll be a go, which is great because Nobum has been solid. A little back issue for Nobum as well, but he had a full practice, I think, the other day, Wednesday. But Nobum has allowed significantly more pressures in fewer games than Whitworth had. So just having Whitworth back, hopefully he's full strength, full go, and that's perfect timing against Seattle. That's when he got injured, against Seattle in Week 10. I think it was Week 10. So Whitworth back is huge. Cooper Kupp got reinstated from the COVID list. Michael Brockers, I think, will today or tomorrow. So we get those guys back. Cam Akers, a full participant in practice on Wednesday, which is crazy. I mean, I thought he looked a little slow, a little weak on that ankle. Maybe he wasn't trusting it as much, but the fact that he's a full participant in practice is awesome. We didn't have him in Week 10, but now we don't have Darrell Henderson. So I do like the Cam Malcolm show. Hopefully our offensive line can move some bodies around and give those guys some lanes. And then the biggest question mark of all when it comes to injuries is the thumb of Jared Goff, right? So if his thumb is okay, he's going to play, end of discussion. That's just what's going to happen. But will he be healthy enough to play? I remember Drew Brees last year hit his thumb on Aaron Donald's helmet, was out for like a month, right? And that was a Teddy Bridgewater show. And the fact that Jared Goff might be able to play or could play 2 weeks after having thumb surgery is pretty crazy. So, I mean, like the logical part of my brain says he won't be ready to play, but then they showed some clips on Twitter or social media of him and Wolford, throwing the ball around simultaneously, and he looked fine. But I mean, what do I know? Maybe that was him just being 60%. So it just all comes down to the thumb, and if he's healthy. And if he's healthy, he's going to roll. And he's beaten the Seahawks plenty of times. So this isn't like, oh, if he plays, we're screwed. I mean, he beat the Seahawks once already this year. The Rams lost to the Seahawks. I mean, granted, he did make some mistakes in that game, but the whole team made a lot of mistakes in that game. We had a goal line first and goal from the 2, and we didn't get in on 4 plays in a row. So, I mean, is that Jared Goff's fault? Johnny Munt had some bonehead plays. Higbee had some bonehead plays. Are those Jared Goff's faults too? I mean, he had the interception, and also Goff can't scramble. In that game, he looked very awkward when he was running. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. I guess what I want to say is, and we won't know until game time, until like they're going onto the field, So this is going to be a mystery the whole time. I'm all for that. But we need to check our bias at the door. A lot of people, once you write someone off, they're gone. They're dead to you. And a lot of Rams fans have done that with Jared Goff, okay? And I would just caution against that. All right? Just take a breath. Get very zen about it. But, I mean, listen, he turns the ball over all the time, and that makes me uneasy. He doesn't take any risk. And he makes some really bonehead decisions, and he can't scramble. There's a lot of knocks against him, but he still did win 9 games this year, okay? And what I want to tell you about checking your bias at the door, imagine if Goff against Arizona threw on the first play, offensive play, first pass, he throws an interception, and then they score a touchdown the next play later. You're freaking out. You want his head on a spike. John Wolford does it, and it's like, all right, come back, kid, we'll get him next time. Granted, he doesn't have the history of making all these mistakes, and I totally get that. But, I mean, just take a deep breath. In that game, the red zone, all the penalties against Arizona, those weren't Wolford's fault. That wasn't Wolford's fault. There's a lot of things that happen in a game that are not the quarterback's fault. Anyways, going on against each other, head-to-head, Russell Wilson versus Jared Goff. Jared Goff, 502 yards this year. Russell Wilson, 473. Russell Wilson, 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 passing, 2 interceptions. So he's 2-2. Jared Goff, no touchdowns in any way, shape, or form, and 2 turnovers, a fumble lost and an interception. their passer rating is pretty much identical. Russell Wilson 75, Jared Goff 76. So Jared Goff has a slightly better passer rating, more passing yards, but no touchdowns, and they both have the same turnovers too. So, I mean, it's not like Russell Wilson is vastly outplaying him. Russell Wilson has had some stinkers this year, especially in the second half. So, yeah, that's really the gist of Jared Goff right there. Now, Wolford, what I really liked about him is obviously the ability to scramble. If you look back at the highlights of the Rams-Seahawks game the last time they played a couple weeks ago, and this is what I talked about with Jared Goff and his scrambling. He's indecisive, and he's slow. But the indecisiveness allows the defenders to cave in on him. So where if he just decided to tuck and run, he'd get 3 or 4 more yards. But the fact that he just doesn't know what he's going to do, and when he decides to do it, the defenders are right in his face, and he gets nothing. So that, Wolford, when he tucks it and runs, he's off. And what I really like is, this is what Russell Wilson does, and this is what he did in that last game, is you have the receivers go on deep routes, so you really create this hole in the middle of the field, and then he rolls out, and unless there's a spy there, and if a spy's coming in on him, then he'll just pass it to whoever that guy is guarding. So it's that kind of ability that I think is really cool about John Wolford. And also he threw the ball deep. He had 9 deep passes. He had that pass to Robert Woods. He had the pass to Higbee and the pass to Cam Akers. Those were completions over 20 yards. And so, we just haven't seen that from Goff too much. So those are the things I really like about Wolford. And if Wolford started, I'd be pretty stoked, to be honest with you. So I'm not sitting here bashing Wolford. I'm not sitting here saying Goff is the worst. I'm not saying he's the best. I'm just saying that Goff can win this game if he plays and his thumb is healthy. He can win it. He's won games in Seattle before. He beat Seattle this year. If Wolford plays Seattle, I feel like he brings intangibles and things that obviously the running ability and the passing the ball downfield that Goff doesn't bring. And the fact that he already has a game under his belt, I think, is crucial. So we will see, and we will rally behind whoever is playing, and we will play good football. I hope, especially in the red zone. I'm not going to go through everything in the last game that sucked. I mean, remember D. Will had a dropped pick 6. Johnny Munt, just a lot of stuff. But to me, this game is kind of like what it's always been with the Rams this year is I believe in the Rams defense doing their part. And I'm not worried about the Rams defense versus the Seattle offense. I'm worried about the Rams offense versus Seattle defense. And because if we look at the Rams defense and the Seattle defense, they're both like neck and neck in terms of how they're playing right now. And forget what Seattle's done the first half of the year. Their defense has come alive. Like I knew it would when they got guys back. When Jamal Adams would be healthy. When they acquired Dunlap, Chico Griffin is back. They figured out their cornerback situation. But the Rams defense, I'll talk about the Rams defense first. First in defensive rating, yards per game and yards per attempt. I mean, they're the best defense. They're second in sacks with 53 this season and 8th in QB hits with 101. Leonard Floyd has 10.5 sacks. He has 5 against Seattle this year. 5. So half of his sacks pretty much have come in 2 games. And I think he won Defensive Player of the Week the first time they played. He had 3 sacks. The Rams have sacked Russell Wilson 11 times this year in 2 games. 6 in the first game, 5 in the second game. And Russell Wilson has suffered 48 sacks this year, 6th most in the NFL, and almost a quarter of those, almost pretty much a fifth of those have come against the Rams in 2 games, which is pretty crazy. So the Rams have his number. They kind of always had his number, so this doesn't surprise me. And remember, oh gosh, you go back to the beginning part of the season, before preseason and maybe the first couple of games, remember what the Chicken Little Skies Falling narrative was? The Rams have no pass rush outside of Aaron Donald. And look at them now, second in sacks, and they just get after it. So it's so weird how that just went away. And that became, they became so effective at rushing the passer. So, and whenever Russell Wilson has been sacked 5+ times in a game, which has happened 4 times, the Seahawks are 1-3 in those games. So if the Rams can sack him 5 times, which they did last time they played, and the Seahawks still won, but that's really not the norm. If they can get him in 5 times, which is still a lot, then it looks pretty good for the Rams. And Brandon Staley, when asked what the key to stopping or containing Russell Wilson was, he said having depth on the defensive line and keeping guys fresh, because Russell Wilson is always moving the pocket. He's always extending plays, and guys are, you see the defensive linemen are always lugging after him. But if you can rotate guys in there, they can just sprint and get after him, and they can cause havoc. Now, the Seattle offensive line, they're going to have all 5 starters playing in this game, and that's going to be really good. Iupati will be in there, so the communication will be a lot better in this game. Let's see if the Rams pass rush, can mitigate that. I think they'll still get at least 3 sacks. We'll see if they get more. And then the Rams' run defense, they are 3rd with 3.8 yards per carry and 3rd in with 91.3 yards per game. So they're really stout against the run. They've played Seattle the last game, even the first 2 games, but the first game against Seattle, Seattle didn't have any real starting running backs, and Russell Wilson had the most rushing yards. But I don't really see the Seattle running game getting off the ground here. Chris Carson is a good player. Carlos Hyde, Rashad Penny, they're all good players. They're good, stable. They're all healthy. But the Rams' run defense has just been no joke. And they have limited Seattle the 2 games already. So I think that'll still happen. Now, the Seattle offense, ever since they played the Rams in Week 10, kind of went downhill. And remember, they're prolific, let Russ cook at the beginning of the season. And that's because they were just explosive plays, throwing the ball over the top. Well, ever since the Rams played them, and there was a cover 2, a quarters look, teams replicated that. And it's been tough going for Seattle and the cover 2. So basically they're having to take things underneath. That's why I think the tight ends in this game, Greg Olsen, Disley, Hollister, I think those guys are going to kind of be, they're going to have more action than I feel Metcalf will ultimately. So I look for the tight ends to be big in this game, just because the Seahawks really aren't going explosive anymore. They try, but it's just not working out. And DK has had less than 100 yards combined in his meetings with the Rams, and less than 65 yards per game in his last 4 games. So, teams are really getting on him, and Jalen Ramsey is going to lock his ass down again. And this is the thing. At the beginning of the year, in the first game, Russell Wilson's like, I'm not going to go against DK, or Ramsey, I'm going to go against D. Will. Then D. Will picks off 2 passes, almost has a pick 6 in his last game. And I think, if he keeps testing D. Will and going to Tyler Lockett, this is going to happen. So maybe it's more David Bourne and it's the tight ends. But, that's what you're going to get with that. So now the Seahawks defense versus the Rams offense. So remember, their passing defense in the first half of the year was historically bad. They were allowing 350 yards per game. They had a lot of injuries in their secondary, but when they got guys back and their defense, the front 7 were playing really well, they took 350 yards per game down to 285 yards per game. That's where it is at the end of the year. And when you do that, your deep passing defense, your secondary is actually giving up fewer than 285, because you have to bring that 350 down by going under 285. So the fact that they brought it down to 285 in, 6 or 7 games is really remarkable. So the secondary has really come along. And also, since they got Carlos Dunlap there in the last 4 or 5 games, their pass rush has really come alive. That was their Achilles heel going into the season. They're 7th in sacks this year with 46. They're 6th in QB hits, more than the Rams at 108. And Jamal Adams set a defensive back record with 9.5 sacks this year. So he's their leading pass rushers, Jamal Adams. They have to account for him at all times. And even though he's banged up, I do believe Jamal Adams will play. So if I'm running and I see Jamal Adams, I'm bumping that shoulder big time, both of those shoulders. Carlos Dunlap, since they got him, 5 sacks in 8 games. Jaron Reed, 6.5 sacks. He's questionable with an oblique, so if he doesn't play, that's going to be big. Benson Mayowa, 6 sacks. And another guy to keep an eye out for, Rasheem Green. He has 5 QB hits in his last 3 or 4 games, and he'll rotate in there a lot, especially if Jaron Reed can't play. So their defensive line has really stepped up, and it's not just Jamal Adams and it's not just Dunlap, but they've got 2 defensive tackles that combine for 12.5 sacks, which is pretty significant. Now, Goff has been sacked 3 times in the last 2 games, so 6 times total, so they have been getting to him. And their run defense is pretty stout as well. So the Rams are 3rd in both yards per carry and yards per game on the ground as a defense, and Seattle is 4th in yards per carry and 5th in yards per game. So, I mean, they're pretty much the same. So this is going to be a big game for the Rams offensive line, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And the Rams offense, they're number 1 in all football in terms of play action pass attempts with 189. However, Seattle's play action defense is 2nd in terms of rating allowed at 77%, so they actually play pretty well against the play action. So this is what the Rams do versus what the Seahawks do, and I think the key to this game, or the keys to this game really, is who scores, who gets to 20 points and more. That's the magic number. You get to 20 points or more, that'll really kind of dictate who's going to win this game. It's going to be, I think, a low-scoring affair. And for me, the Rams, whoever, if it's Wolford, if it's Goff, this game is all about the Rams offense versus the Seattle defense. That's where it's going to be, and it's going to be turnovers. I say this every time. It's all about the turnovers. If the Rams keep a clean turnover sheet, that means Nasimba Webster, no fumbling. Gerald Everett, Malcolm Brown, Cam Akers, no fumbling. Jared Goff, no interceptions. Wolford, no interceptions. Woods, no one. Hold on to the ball, take care of the ball. And like I said, the O-line with Whitworth back, like Aaron Donald, that spirit he had when asked, like, that's what we want, that's who we want, that's exactly who we want. I need to see that from the offensive line. Havenstein, Corbett, Blythe, Edwards, Whitworth, these guys got to play mean and nasty like they did against the Patriots. When they went against the Patriots, you could feel it. They were all in and they were playing tough. I want to see that. I don't want to see the Seattle team being the only one that's really bringing that hard edge. So the O-line needs to open up holes for Cam Akers, and they need to give Goff or Wolford time. And that needs to happen, whether it's Munt and Everett and Higbee in there blocking. No more getting blown up by KJ Wright. No more getting blown up by Jamal Adams. Like, you play with an edge. That's what I want to see. Cam Akers. How effective will Cam Akers be in this game? Because like I said, he didn't play in the first game. And in the second, and he didn't play, wait, did he play in the first game? He didn't play in the second game. So Cam Akers, I want to see Cam Akers really have some zip to him. And in the red zone, this, honestly, 2 games in a row, the Rams had 1st and goal from like the 1 or the 2 yard line, and they went for it on all 4 downs and did not make it. That cannot happen. That cannot happen. They need to convert in the red zone. The Rams need to score at least 2 touchdowns in this game. At least 2 touchdowns. They scored 3 touchdowns in the Week 10 game on the ground. They can do it. They just have to do it. Also, 3rd down conversions. They need to not only convert on 3rd down, but they need to stop Seattle on 3rd down. Converting on 3rd down for Seattle is kind of a tough spot for them, so they need to really keep them in a 3rd and long and really limit that, and I feel confident our defense can do it. Also, their tight ends, like I mentioned before, I really feel their tight ends are going to be key in this game, or dump-offs to the running backs. That's really where Russell Wilson's going to get his bread and butter and also his little scrambles. So, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. I mean, I'm excited for this game. It's crazy. It's a Saturday game. It's on at 10:40 p.m. here, so I'm going to be up watching it. Most likely a live stream afterwards, but definitely want to live stream tomorrow with Norb Cam, a Seattle guy. But I feel good about this game. I have one of these feelings kind of like when the Rams played the Patriots. I feel like the Rams feel it, and I just hope that the quarterback position is handled correctly. That's it. If McVay doesn't feel Goff is ready, Goff is not going to play. And if it's Wolford, I mean, far from a sure thing, but it is a bit refreshing, and we'll see what he can do. So, anyways, that's it. ADQ the music, my friends. So, yeah, that's it. I appreciate everyone for watching all the way to the end here, almost 24, 25 minutes. Watch another video. Find me on the Flick app. I'll be on there during the game. Instagram, all the social. Subscribe if you haven't. I really appreciate all the love, all the support. And as always, go Rams. Boom. We got this W. I feel it. Feel that too. 3 for 3.